Personally, I find the story of Toyota's Prius to be pretty interesting because when this little car was first conceived, it essentially was just a hybrid Corolla, solely to be a fuel-efficient and smart, and you could also say nerdy vehicle. And in its 2 decades of existence, I would certainly say this poor little car has been bullied more than it deserves to be, but what once used to be an awkward little car has seemingly turned into being an athletic and confident little vehicle, but still a nerd. And I know that this isn't an enthusiast car, but I would certainly say this is the most lively Prius that we've ever had. So without further ado, I present to you the 2026 Toyota Prius. Hello! I hope that you've been doing well this week. I know I have been because the past 2 weeks I've had colorful cars. It feels so good to not have a wave of gray and black cars again. But yes, this in fact is the new Toyota Prius. This has been the new Prius since November of 2022 when it was first introduced for the 23 model year. And for 2026, things haven't changed too much besides the addition of this new nightshade trim level and a new yellow. So this yellow thing right next to me is a 2026 Prius plug-in. They got rid of the Prime name last year for this and also the RAV4. I like the Prime name myself, but this is a Prius plug-in in the XSE Nightshade trim level, which is new for this year. The Nightshade just gives you black wheels, black door handles, black mirrors, black badges, just black out everything. Half of my friends have either loved this color and the other half hate this color. I myself am on the loving side of this color. Color. Oh, also, this car is still built in Toyota's Aichi, Japan plant, so it's a good car. The only substantial option that this car has besides the color is the optional fixed glass roof for $1,000. You could either choose this or the solar roof, which I'm not too crazy about. I had a Prius Prime about 2 years ago with that solar roof and it didn't really charge it that much, but I don't know. That all brings the MSRP of this thing, as you see it right next to me, to $41,280. I do want to clarify that Toyota still makes the regular Prius as well. That one starts at $29,000. Still is a great hybrid system, very smooth, very economical, but this one is just on a little bit of a higher league. The Prime starts at $33,000 with the SE trim. That will also be the trim that gets the best gas mileage because it has the smallest wheels and the least rolling resistance. Then we have the XSE for $37,000, XSE Nightshade for $38,000 like this one, and then the XSE Premium for $40,000. And then of course, if you still wanted a plug-in version of the RAV4 for 26, that is coming back as well. I'll be seeing that soon. For 26, powertrain doesn't change for the Prius. We still have the standard Prius that makes up to 196 horsepower. That's the most already out of any Prius in the past. And then we have this Prius Prime. I'm still gonna call it the Prime because that's what it is to me. But this thing, and I'm not bluffing, is the quickest Toyota Prius ever from the factory. If you happen to be a Prius aficionado, you'll know that previous Priuses used 1.8 liter 4-cylinders. Nowadays, we got some big bore action with this new 2-liter. I introduce you to the M20 FXS. This is a 2-liter naturally aspirated inline 4-cylinder, and it runs on the Atkinson cycle. Of course, because it's the plug-in version, it also runs on 2 electric motors with this gas engine, and all of that is paired to an eCVT, which works quite good. This whole combination makes for the most powerful Prius ever in existence from the factory. 220 horsepower. That gets this 3,400-pound bottle of mustard to 60 miles an hour in only 6.5 seconds in a Toyota Prius. And I know that speed isn't everything because it's a Toyota Prius after all, but I find it pretty impressive that you get extraordinary fuel economy with really good performance too. In terms of MPGs, this XSE Nightshade is rated at 50 in the city, 47 on the highway, and a combined rating of 48. If you want to squeeze a little bit more efficiency out of your Prius Prime, you can get the base SE and get a combined rating of 52. Because this is PHEV and not HEV, we can plug this into charger at home or in public. You can either use the included level 1 charger that comes with this car that runs on 110 volts and charge this in 11 hours. Makes sense if you're at home, but kind of a pain if you're stuck on the go. But this thing has the gas engine to work as well. However, if you buy a level 2 charger at home, which runs on 240 volts, or if you go to a public charger, then it will take only 4 hours to charge this. Regardless, it'll give you 44 miles of solely electric propulsion, which actually is quite nice, because if you don't have a terribly long commute, you can really rarely use gas in this car, and maybe only have to fill up once a month or even every other month, depending on how you drive, but definitely not me. Now, this isn't a huge car, but it is substantially larger than the Prius that existed 20 years ago. This sits at 181.6 inches long, making it 6 inches longer than the 2006 Prius. You can also see that this XSE Nightshade is riding on these huge, well, big 19-inch alloy wheels, which are black for this trim level. Even though this thing is on 19-inch wheels, don't get too excited about a lot of grip though, because you're only on 195 with tires. And that's for the efficiency. Prius has always been a practical little car because of its lift back, and it still offers that, thankfully. One thing I'm a little bit sad to see gone is the rear wiper. I personally am one of those weirdos that likes the rear wiper on the back of a Porsche 911, and I want one on my Prius as well. The only other thing I would like to mention now before I forget is this is small to see out of. So this is one of those few cars I wish had a digital rear view mirror. And it's not like the old Prius where there's a piece of glass down here either. I do really like the design of this car. It really is futuristic, looks like a concept car to me. A lot of people also have thought this car was a Model 3. But see, I was already getting a little bit distracted. Behind the rear seat here, you can see we have 20.3 cubic feet of volume. It's not huge, of course, because it's not the biggest car in the world, and because it's kind of shaped like a wedge of cheese, you lose a little bit of the vertical room. If you fold the second row seat down, then you get 26.7 cubic feet of volume. Unfortunately, just like many new cars, this one does not have a spare tire. We only have a can of Fix-A-Flat and a pump. So you have to call Toyota. Now, as we enter the rear quarters of the Prius Prime, you can see it's actually more spacious than you would expect back here. I'm 5'9", and you can see I have plenty of knee room. I can fit my feet under the seats. Headroom is the only concern in this car. If you're taller than me, maybe like if you're 6 foot, then your hair might be brushing up against the ceiling. I'm a little disappointed to see that we don't have climate control vents for the rear, so you have to rely on the front vents. But we do have 2 USB Type-C ports down here and a 1500 watt power outlet. The bottom of the seat is quite comfortable. This uses Toyota's Softex material. Yeah, you know, it's nice in here. I have this glass roof in the back, so I can sit here and look at the sky. It's pretty chill. We can get out of the little bit of wind here, and I welcome you to the interior of the new Toyota Prius Prime. I still call it the Prime. Welcome. It does still feel pretty Prius-like in here because we have the funky looking steering wheel and the gauges right up top. I still call it Prius Prime because it still is a Prius Prime. It still says Prius Prime on the key, but this is the key fob for the Current Prius, lock, unlock, and the panic button. Because of this, we can keep this anywhere inside the car and then put our foot on the brake and press the start, well, power button to go. Thankfully, this car is still fairly simple, especially in the age of all the technological nonsense. I still feel like I'm driving a car in this. I can actually make this light here because of the crosswalk. So thank you, crosswalk. Yay! You can see, I'll give it the beans. It's quick. For a Prius, it really is quick. It's shocking how fast this thing gets up to speed, but it's very quiet. You see, you didn't really hear the engine. This is one of the cars I'm not really complaining too much about the CVT because it just works in this car. But this thing actually drives impressively well and much more composed than Priuses of the past. While I'm just in normal traffic, we can talk a little bit about the interior. You can see I have this 3-spoke leather-wrapped steering wheel. It is thankfully heated all the way around in this model, so it is quite comfortable when it's colder like this. It feels nice. It is small, but good grip. I don't really feel like I need to have a steamboat size wheel in this car anyway. There are buttons on the wheel. The buttons on the left control some of the information display in the gauges, as well as some of the audio controls and voice control. The buttons on the right side control the cruise control functions, as well as the track forward and backward, and the source button on the steering wheel for the audio. You can also see right above the steering wheel, this is another one of the new Toyotas that has a face tracker in it, so it can see if you're paying attention or not. If I sit like this, you know, sometimes I'm just driving like this, and then I hope you can see the gauges when it does happen. Sit up, driver's face not detected. Don't tell me to sit up. I know I'm paying attention. It does help in some situations, but most of the time I'm paying attention when I'm freaking driving. The gauges are thankfully pretty easy to see, not too much in there. It's just trip computer and things like that, but nothing to make me go, wow. A lot of people have been looking at this car, I will say that, because I guess it is yellow, and I guess it does look like a foreign car on the outside. I mean, it is a foreign car, but it's a really foreign spectacle, especially if you're looking at a Prius. You expect it to be looking lame, but this thing looks actually pretty rad. You can see under normal acceleration, the engine is very quiet. The transmission doesn't have any rubber bandy, laggy effect. Like, I don't feel like it's like, it just, the engine just goes quiet immediately after I let off the gas. It's really a refined powertrain. I really have been impressed with how the lack of noise in this car, because, you know, Priuses have always been kind of grumbly and they sound like they're straining when you're under hard acceleration, but this thing, I mean, sure, it sounds, you can hear what it's doing, but this thing is actually pretty good. The electric motors really do help in acceleration. You really do get the little punch, you know, it's kind of fun. I like that. The brakes are still good, even though that this car is a hybrid. It just feels very normal. I'm going to pass a Prius here. Ooh, it's a Prius Prime. I don't know if you saw it. Maybe they were looking at my car. See, you know, Prius nerd. And then there's a second gen Prius. Maybe we'll see that. Right now, yeah. And then, yeah. That one's an XSE Prime as well. I'm distracted. This is a brown XC60 T6R design. I hope it shows in the camera. Brown R design, I find that very interesting. But yeah, even for being just a normal mundane Prius, I've honestly had an enjoyable week with this. It's not as slow. It's not slow at all. And it still handles well, even though it's on pizza cutter sized tires. It's just an all-around good driver. I have all the active safety features, you know, that you would expect out of a new car. So if you have to deal with stupid people that are hitting the brake for no reason, the car will help you prevent accidents if you're not paying attention. Visibility is pretty good in this car. The mirrors are good. I will say that the belt line of the windows just feels a little bit high, so the windows kind of feel small. Also, again, I wish that this had a digital rear view mirror, or at least a slightly larger rear window, because it's kind of a, I mean, I can see out of the back, but it's just not too great. You can see passing power here. Hee-hee! You know, it does like groan and moan, but it's quicker than a lot of other people's cars that you'll, you know, come across on the road, and it's quicker than any Prius as well. Highway acceleration is surprising. This thing gets to speed very well, and then it slows down well too. This transmission does have a B mode because it is hybrid. At highway speeds, you can see even with the little tires, I don't have too much road noise, not too much wind noise. This car just overall feels very planted, very refined. I mean, I'm not in a luxury car. Of course, I know I'm not in a Lexus, but I feel like I'm in a nicer car than a Prius is of yesteryear, you know? I did get a little bit distracted. You can see behind this steering wheel, this car is loaded to the gills. We have automatic headlights on the left side of the wheel, and then on the right side, we also have rain sensing wipers. I really appreciate that all four windows are auto up and down. It really adds to the more premium Japanese Toyota experience. The B mode works well if you just want to kind of send it through a corner. And it still doesn't have too much body roll. It will try to push, of course, but it it really handles better than you would expect a Prius to. The other day I was able to keep up with a Charger on back roads. It was a V6 Charger, but still. All these new cars are ugly. This Prius isn't ugly, thankfully. But it sounds funny. As you can see in the center, this thing does have a 12.3-inch touchscreen display. The volume is the beep is really loud. It's very clear. It's very easy to use. This runs on Toyota's connected services system, which has grown on me. The only woe I had with this infotainment system in the past was that it didn't have a dedicated home page to have the GPS, phone, and audio, you know, like the Entune system. But I just use Apple CarPlay most of the time anyway, so it really isn't something that bothers me. Infotainment system, again, no complaints. It's very snappy, responsive. When you're just driving this around town, hopefully if the people end up going, the steering is very light. This car is very easy to drive. You just whip it around, very tight turning circle. I'll go in sport mode. More responsive and the steering is quicker. No, Prius, I mean, I won't say that because then they won't make it anymore, but Prius shouldn't be this quick. I will say, do not think that you're in a sports car because it will not take a corner like a Camry or like, you know, I was gonna say GR Camry, TRD Camry or something like that. The steering definitely is more responsive when I'm in sport mode, and the throttle, it just feels more lively. I have actually had fun driving this car. We can see how passing power is once again. Hey, like what? But there has really not been any situation that I've driven this car and I've not liked it, honestly. This is a car, like, the noise is acceptable. This does help single zone climate control in this XSE Nightshade. The seats are also very comfortable for short or long journeys. The driver's seat is full range of power adjustment with two-way lumbar, but the passenger seat is manually adjusting. And I will also say, if you're by yourself, the audio system in this car is perfect. So bass is strong, no complaints. There's also plenty of storage in this car as well. You can see underneath these two USB-C ports, there's this little tray, but there's also a hidden compartment underneath that tray too, where you can keep a sandwich or something. We have two reasonably sized cup holders. There's also a wireless charger, which is on the side of the shifter ensemble. I find that interesting, but I don't really use the wireless charger because my phone gets too hot and then it makes the CarPlay act slow. As you can see around the shifter area, I can put this into an EV mode, but it only works under a certain amount of throttle input. So if I floor it, and also if it has charge, look at this guy. I'm marking you a road pirate. Another part of this car where I have to commend Toyota is that I really don't feel the transition from electric to gas. It's really smooth. I don't feel it at all. Maybe just a little click, but that's it. It's so smooth. If you're coming from an 04 Prius, you'll be like, wow. I really couldn't find anything to say bad about this thing in the week that I had it, so I just wanted to say it's pretty good. Yeah, it's quick. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of our time with the new Prius Prime. I know it's not considered the Prime, but it is still the Prime to me. Let me know in the comments if you own a Prius, any generation of Prius. Hopefully we'll be able to see more of these things on the channel, but the older ones. I'll be honest with you though, if I was to buy a Prius, I would consider this if I could afford it, but I would probably still get a second-gen Prius because those are the most iconic to me. So hopefully we'll be able to see a second-gen Prius sooner than later, but I do appreciate you watching this video. I really do have to commend Toyota for making a good car. I don't want to see Toyota get rid of this car for the Camry or Corolla hybrid, so hopefully people still keep buying these. But again, I do appreciate you all liking, commenting, and subscribing, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, peeps.